Hello and welcome to Shanmugam IAS Academy. This is Ashwin. I welcome you all for current events of the day. The topics for today's discussion are the issue of cross-border electricity trade in South Asia. Nct of Delhi Bill 2021 is against the principle of federalism. India's potential as a global investment hub. Bad bank for strengthening the banking sector. Okay, let us take up the first one, the issue of cross-border electricity trade in South Asia. Currently, guidelines for import or export of electricity 2018 governs the trade of electricity across the international borders. In 2014, India, through the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, that is what we used to call it as SAARC framework, it liberalized the electricity trade. So in the trade which is happening in the South Asian region, overall South Pacific region, Indo-Pacific region, in regions, China will be participating more. So to curb the participation of China and the monopoly of China in the South Indo-Pacific region, we are having Quad. We have discussed it in earlier current affairs. So here we have to discuss what is the disadvantage India is facing because of the entrance of the China. India countered China by taking back the free market advantages. Further, it imposed strong restrictions that prevented regional private entities and joint ventures from participating in the electricity trade. So after a long years of protest by Nepal and Bhutan, new guidelines in 2018 of electricity were formulated. The new rules allow private sector participation, but it is excluding the investments of China. Through the new electricity rules, India attempts to balance China's growing influence in the region, because this new rule will be eliminating Chinese investments in the electricity trade across the international borders, specifically in the South Asian region. The new rules have clear limits on who can buy from and sell into India. However, it has the potential to disturb the electricity markets of its neighborhoods like Bangladesh, Bhutan and Nepal. What are the important provisions in the rules? According to the new rules, whoever is having a company, it can be any kind of company which is based in a country, should have a bilateral connection or agreement with India to buy or sell into India. Second, the rules place the same security restriction on tripartite trade. So if three countries are involving or three companies are involving, this security rules will be, restrictions will be provided. Thirdly, the rules establish a surveillance procedure to detect changes in the ownership patterns of entities trading with India. What are the issues involved? So India is a growing economy. It is the fourth largest global energy consumer, and the new rules also focusing on the monopoly of India over the South Asian region. So these are the counter things by the neighborhood countries like Bangladesh, Bhutan and Nepal, even Chinese government. So it is a biggest negative thing to execute the one sun, one world, one grid vision of India in the electricity trade. So in India is aiming to connect West Asia, Southeast Asia and Africa. An impartial institution is important for making it functional. That is true. However, the South Asian lesson contained in these latest rules tells us the political realities will hamper the vision of borderless trade. Let us take up the next one, which we have seen in the previous day's current affair. That is NCT, National Capital Territory of Delhi. Bill 2021 is against the principle of federalism. Okay, let us discuss. Lok Sabha has passed the government of NCT of Delhi Bill 2021. It is against the constitutional morality and needs to be declared unconstitutional, because Article 239 AA of the Constitution of India envisioning the special status to the Delhi through the 69th Constitutional Amendment Act. So in the special provision of Delhi can be run the government with the Legislative Assembly and Council of Ministers headed by Chief Minister. It was the responsible to the Legislative Assembly and empowered to deal with matters of concern to the common man. The recently introduced government of NCT of Delhi Bill 2021 is against Article 239 AAA. What all are the changes made in the National Capital Territory of Delhi Bill? So we are having as per the provisions of 239, that is 239 AA of Constitution, which says Delhi can be run its government with a legislative assembly and its council, legislative council. So here the legislative assembly is possessing the elected persons. So this elected persons having the some morality, willingness to do the people's will. So whatever the decision taken in the legislative assembly should be concerned with the lieutenant governor, which is totally against the morality of 239 AAA. What is the related court's ruling on this issue? First, Government of Nct of Delhi versus Union of India. The court stated that Council of Ministers should keep the Lieutenant Governor informed of its decisions. The rationale of this decision was to resolve the difference of opinion between Lieutenant Government and the Delhi government by referring it to a president. So it is fully against the constitutional morality, which says the Delhi government can run its government with the legislative assembly and council of ministers without discussing its decision and concerning the lieutenant governor. There can be a lieutenant governor, but there is no such need to discuss all things, all governmental things with Delhi governmental things with the president. So this is totally against the constitutional morality of NC. Shamsher Singh was a state of Punjab. The code warned against giving excessive powers to individual like lieutenant governor. Yes, lieutenant governor is an appointed person, a nominated person we can say, but CM of Delhi will be an elected person, so he will be elected by the people. So in a democratic country, the elected member will be running the government. We all know that. The reasons stated by the court are: one, election will not have many meaningful value. Yes, that's true. Two, the voice of citizens will go unrecognized because an elected person should be running the government instead of a nominated. So these all are the things about new amendment bill of NCT. India's potential as a global investment hub. Even though the pandemic first affected India and other countries, India has the willpower to tackle this COVID-19, even though in the tough situation which has been totally not able to faced by the other countries. So even though the pandemic hit country, India received more than 660 billion of foreign direct investment from firms like Google, Facebook, Walmart, Samsung, Foxconn and Silver Lake. They made FDI contributions to India. However, India's latest FDI totals still lag behind other market economics like China and Brazil. These are, while compared to China and Brazil, our FDI is very less. Why it is happening? Because frequent shifts in the policy landscape. India is choosing many of the policy landscapes based on its monetary policy and its budget. So liberalization is very less in the Indian government. And another thing is, India used to impose anti-dumping duty, negative list, mandatory localized procurement. These are all the things which will be curbing the foreign direct investment entering into India. 3. Government's push towards self-reliant, because Atmanirbhar Bharat is a consequently and frequently told by our Prime Minister. So FDI coming into India will not be a betterment for India as per our Prime Minister. Why multinational companies are investing in India? Because there is a competition between US and China is happening. So they are the world superpowers. So India, other countries will be likely, other companies will be likely to invest in India. And other reason is India is having a minimum purchasing power, so you can live with healthier, happily and wealthier in India by having a small amount of money. That is why purchasing power parity. Third, next generation netizens. More than 700 million internet users are in India, so that this Cisco, Nokia, Ericsson and Flux in FDI are willing to invest in India. Fourth, showcase of India's resilience during adversities. For example, India has managed the pandemic better than many of the Western peers and restored economic activity. These all are the things which allows other countries to invest into India. So let us take up the next one, that is bad bank for strengthening the banking sector. So we should know what is bad bank first. We have commercial banks and public sector banks. So both of these banks are having NPS, that is non-performing assets. Over a period of time, when the non-performing asset is increasing, these banks cannot run their institution. So the bank will rust, the insolvency rate will increase. So what they are doing, government is introducing a new bank called bad bank. So this bad bank will be purchasing the NPS from the public sector banks and commercial banks. So the NPA weightage of a commercial bank and public sector bank will be shifted on the bad banks. So these bad banks will be taking control over the NPAs, and these bad banks will be making profit through this NPAs. So provision coverage ratio is the ratio provisioning to gross non-performing assets of a bank. So this is what happens through the bad banks. So what is the benefits? So it will be purchasing the NPAs from the insolvency and bank erupting like banks. Banks will get more management space. Yes, that's true. When the bank's weightage and burden is shifted to another bank, his freeness will be increasing. So as per some experts are saying, for example, if 400 rupees worth assets is NPA is transferred from one public sector bank to bad bank, this bad banks makes out of this NPA of Rs 400 rupees 526 for in the economy. It is a multiplier effect of around 1.3. Further, the benefits worth 2.2 lakh can be witnessed at just 20% recovery rate. The banks have realized the growth potential of sector. They are constantly developing new business models, rationalizing cost and providing superior service to attract more customers, keeping majority ownership in the private sector, putting together a strong and independent board. So these are all the favorable environmental conditions which has been made by the bad banks towards the private sector banks and commercial banks, which are having their own burdens like NPAs and other things which are makes bad burdens to the banks. So these bad banks will be helpful in the running of other banks. We are having about 95 days from today for our prelims examination 2021. So please be focused on that daily current affairs and other things like practicing prelims questions, because it is very important, because it's we used to appear once in a year. So be focused. With this we wind up today's session. Let us meet you on tomorrow's session. Thank you for watching.